That's what that one looks like. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove a couple more 8mm bolts that I can get to now. Got the motor flipped up now. I'm gonna take this clutch pack off of here. We've had some transmission issues. I showed you some gears on the other side there. That could be our potential problem here, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish splitting this case so we know for sure that we've got everything taken care of with those other gears on the stator side there. So I'm gonna remove the starter, I'm gonna remove the clutch pack. We've got our oil pump down here, our shift mechanism here, speedo gear here, we've got our dips or our oil fill here, and a handful of bolts to go ahead and split this case. To pull the starter off here, we've got two 8mm bolts, one here, one there. And you can just take and tap this up. A lot of times take a rubber mallet or something and tap on this, or you can just use your fingers here. There we go. There you've got an O-ring that seals that up. You want to make sure that that O-ring is good, otherwise you could be getting potentially water and debris down into your other side there. So check that starter. We'll go ahead and do a test on that and make sure it works good. I'll show you how to do that here in a bit. We've got a gear down here coming right off of our crank that we will need to pull at some point. 10mm to pull this shift arm here, and then we'll lift this arm off of here. That arm is off, and I'm going to go ahead and run that bolt back down in there. And then to pull our clutch, what I'm going to do is remove these 10mm bolts, and there's 4 of them. Go ahead and remove those. We've got springs underneath of there. I'm going to go ahead and leave those there for now. I'm going to grab a socket for that larger nut. All right, we've got 1 inch and a 1/16 here, and I'm going to go ahead. We could remove these springs, but not necessarily going to have to. I do want to make it sure we hang on to this. Otherwise, it's going to turn this over. If anything catches, it could break shift arms there or create some more damage. Go ahead and spin that off of there. Now we'll be able to take and remove that entire clutch pack off. Now what I'm going to do is take and put this back on there just to keep everything together. All right, we've got our oil pump we're going to remove. We've got a little clip here. I'm going to take a small screwdriver, get it behind that clip. We're going to now be able to pull that gear off of there. This gear that's on our crank is also going to come off at the same time. Go ahead and remove that. Then there's a little pin that runs through our oil pump there. You want to make sure and remove it so it doesn't drop down into your crankcase there. Now we've got 3 screws we're going to remove. Okay, we're going to remove that oil pump. I'm going to take, you can see there the direction of that oil pump, how that gear goes on there, that sprocket there. I'm going to make sure you don't forget about your pin running through there. Okay, we've got a couple of shift mechanisms we're going to remove now. 10mm. That sits right on the shift drum there. We can remove this. There's some posts in there. And a spring-loaded shaft here. We're going to remove that 12mm. We're going to set all the transmission parts together. I'll show you those towards the end of the video. Got our shift star there. Shift shaft I'm going to pull out here along with the spring. Keep all that together. Before I start removing crankcase bolts here, I'm going to go ahead and remove this speedometer gear assembly. It takes 2 8mm. Now if we're just going to pull the gear out of here, we could use a 10mm, pull that gear straight out of there. I'm going to remove the entire thing, clean it up, make sure it's in good working condition. So I'm going to use 8mm socket here and remove that. And then there'll be a gasket in behind here. You want to make sure that that's in good condition. Your complete gasket kit will come with a new gasket for that. But there's your speedo gear there. Again, we could pull this up if we remove this 10mm, take and pull this up to get that out of there. And that goes up to the handlebars or your gauge there. So now I'm going to start removing our 10mm bolts all the way around, or excuse me, I'm going to start removing our 8mm bolts around here. We've got a 12mm bolt here. It's a little bit larger. And then we are going to have to remove the dipstick and the drain plug. And I'm going to flip that up maybe at this time and do that.